It's funny, we rarely stop and think about it, but energy, well, it's the invisible force that underpins literally everything we do, isn't it? I mean, from the moment your alarm clock buzzes powered by electricity, to the coffee brewing, your commute, our factories hunting, even the lights guiding us home, it all runs on energy. It's like this constant vital hum beneath the surface of modern life. Okay, let's unpack this a bit today. We're diving into a really compelling transformation, America's energy future, and specifically this pivotal shift towards what's being called Made in America energy. So our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from our sources about how this whole movement is fundamentally reshaping things, not just where our power comes from, but our national security, our economic stability, and maybe even the engine of innovation right here at home.
That's absolutely right. I mean, when we talk about energy, we're really talking about the lifeblood of our nation. It powers homes, factories, transportation, just like you said. It's foundational. It allows our society to function, to grow well, to thrive. And for a long time, the big challenge we faced was this heavy reliance on foreign sources for a lot of that essential energy. This new Made in America movement, it's aiming squarely at that historical vulnerability. It wants to fundamentally change that dynamic.
You mentioned that historical reliance, that dependence on foreign sources, and beyond the obvious vulnerability, were there other consequences? Maybe less visible ones that our source points to, things that were equally damaging.
Yeah, that's a crucial question because the impact, well, it ran deeper than just supply security. What's fascinating here, and the source really digs into this, is that the lack of domestic control meant our strategic options were often, limited. Just imagine a situation where our foreign policy decisions or even our military's operational capabilities could be subtly or maybe not so subtly influenced by the need to maintain access to critical oil fields or gas supplies, often from distant, sometimes unstable regions. It really imposed a kind of geopolitical constraint, you could say, like a silent tax on our sovereignty.
That really frames the picture well. So our source today makes this powerful statement right up front. It says, America's future depends on secure, reliable, and sustainable energy. That's quite a statement, isn't it? Connecting our whole national trajectory to these three pillars. Could you maybe elaborate a bit on what secure, reliable, and sustainable truly means for the nation in this context? Especially thinking about that past foreign dependence.
Absolutely. And each of those words carries, immense weight. They address different facets of the challenge we face. First, secure. Okay, secure means our energy supply isn't vulnerable to external threats, geopolitical instabilities, or frankly, the whims of other nations. When your energy is secure, it's not just about keeping the lights on. It's about political leverage. Imagine a world where our foreign policy isn't constrained by needing to appease some external energy supplier that's really the core, the nugget, if you will, of energy security. It means decisions about its availability, its cost, are largely made here at home, not abroad. And that protects us from disruptions that could cripple our infrastructure or, our economy. Then you've got reliable. Reliability is about consistency, predictability. It means the energy is always there when we need it. No unexpected blackouts or brownouts or those sudden price spikes that can send shockwaves through households and industries. A reliable energy system supports everything, right? From critical infrastructure like hospitals, emergency services, down to everyday things like keeping a refrigerator running. Foreign reliance often brought in an element of unreliability. Think about long supply lines, potential blockades, political instability in producing regions, like a hurricane hitting a major oil rig in the Gulf, or an international shipping dispute that could immediately translate into pain at the pump or flickering lights for American families. And finally, sustainable. This one speaks to the long-term viability of our energy sources and, crucially, their environmental impact. Sustainability here isn't just about being green, it's more like intergenerational resilience. Right. We're talking about building an energy system that doesn't just work today, but works for our grandchildren, without passing on a huge planetary or economic debt. It means using sources that can be replenished or produce minimal environmental harm, ensuring future generations also have the energy they need. So yeah, secure, reliable, and sustainable together. They define an energy system that's robust, independent, environmentally responsible, and capable of powering America far into the future. And it directly addresses those vulnerabilities that came with that heavy reliance on foreign sources.
So it really boils down to gaining genuine control, not just over the resource itself, but maybe over our own destiny, in a way. Which neatly brings us to this pivotal idea our source really champions, Made in America energy. Beyond the catchy phrase, what's truly at its core? What's the fundamental reorientation our source is describing here?
Yeah, it's definitely more than just a slogan. The core concept really is a strategic, comprehensive investment in homegrown technologies. And this isn't just about, slightly increasing domestic energy production. It's about a fundamental reorientation of the entire energy sector to be domestically focused. It means we're putting significant resources, serious money into developing, manufacturing, and deploying energy solutions right here within our borders. Think of it like building an entire energy ecosystem, almost from the ground up, or in many cases from the R&D lab all the way to the installation site, all within the U.S. This reorientation affects everything: the research labs innovating new materials, the factories producing components, the workforce installing and maintaining these systems. It's a really comprehensive shift towards energy independence and something called technological sovereignty.
Technological sovereignty. That sounds ambitious.
It is. It's the idea that a nation controls the technology that underpins its most critical infrastructure, like energy.
Okay, that's a powerful ambition.
Yeah.
And our source clearly sees that as a goal. But how do we realistically achieve that level of control? I mean, especially when global supply chains, say for critical minerals, are so incredibly interconnected.
That's a critical point, absolutely. And the source acknowledges this isn't like flipping a switch. It's not simple. Achieving true technological sovereignty involves, a multi-pronged approach. Part of it is definitely about diversifying our sources for those critical minerals and materials, not just through domestic mining where it makes sense, but also through partnerships with reliable allies and through advanced recycling technologies too. Another key aspect is actually developing alternative materials, innovating to reduce reliance on scarce resources altogether. It's really about building resilience into the entire chain. So even if we don't produce every single raw material ourselves, we control the core manufacturing, the intellectual property, the critical processing steps. It's a strategic move, moving from being entirely dependent to being strategically resilient.
So when we talk about these homegrown technologies, are we mostly talking about scaling up things we already have, just making more of them to meet domestic demand? Or is the source also pushing for truly disruptive, brand new, American-led inventions in this space?
It's actually both. But there's a very strong emphasis on scaling up and refining existing technologies, plus continued innovation within those fields to make them truly homegrown from start to finish. Our source specifically points to several key technologies driving this movement. Technologies where America already has a strong foundation, but where the full supply chain can be brought on shore. First up, solar power. Obviously, this is a massive component of renewable generation. But the goal here isn't just installing solar panels, it's about manufacturing those panels, their inverters, all the associated bits and pieces right here in America. So for instance, instead of importing finished cells, the focus shifts to domestic production of polysilicon, wafers, cells, creating a truly integrated supply chain, from raw material to power generation.
Okay, solar makes sense. What else?
Then there's wind power. Similar story to solar, really. It's about leveraging our huge wind resources onshore and offshore for clean electricity. But again, with a strong emphasis on domestic production of the turbines, the blades, the towers, all that critical infrastructure. I mean, think about those massive blades for offshore wind turbines. Manufacturing those closer to the deployment sites makes sense, right? It creates regional hubs of skilled labor too. Nuclear energy is also highlighted. And this is a really vital piece of the puzzle, according to the source. It's crucial for reliable, clean baseload power. Baseload just means that minimum amount of power the grid needs all the time, regardless of weather. And new advancements in nuclear tech, like these smaller, more modular reactors, SMRs they call them, you can almost think of them as factory-built, standardized nuclear plants. They're a big part of this push. They offer that consistent, always-on supply, which actually complements the variable output of solar and wind really well. And the goal is bringing the entire nuclear fuel cycle and reactor manufacturing back home, reducing reliance on foreign enrichment or reactor designs.
Interesting. So solar, wind, nuclear, what else is key?
We also have advanced batteries. These are absolutely critical. I can't overstate this. As we integrate more renewables like solar and wind, which are intermittent, right? They don't run all the time. We need sophisticated ways to store that energy, store it so it can be dispatched when it's actually needed, not just when it's generated. So advanced batteries are essential for grid stability, for electric vehicles, even for home energy storage systems. Investing in their domestic production means we control this vital piece of the puzzle, from cell manufacturing all the way to full battery pack assembly. creating jobs, and crucially, intellectual property right here. And finally, clean hydrogen. This one's maybe a bit further out for some applications, but it's incredibly versatile as an energy carrier. It can be produced from renewable sources. They often call that green hydrogen if it uses renewable electricity. And it has the potential to decarbonize sectors that are really hard to electrify otherwise. Think heavy industry, like steel or cement production, maybe long-haul transportation. It offers a flexible, clean fuel for the future. And the Made in America part here includes developing the electrolyzers, the machines that split water to make hydrogen, and the infrastructure to store and transport it safely. So yeah, those are the specific homegrown technologies the source highlights. And the focus, again, isn't just using them. It's the entire value chain, R&D, manufacturing, deployment being concentrated here in the United States. It really is about building an American-led technological future in energy.
That's a pretty comprehensive list. And it's exciting, actually, to think about the innovation happening across such a diverse range of fields. But as you kind of alluded to earlier, this whole movement isn't just about generating electricity, is it? It seems to have a much wider impact. How does this Made in America energy movement benefit the nation beyond just providing power? What are those ripple effects we should be aware of?
Yeah, the benefits are indeed multifaceted. They extend far beyond the kilowatt hour. Systematically, we can see maybe 4 major areas where this shift creates significant positive impacts. First, most directly, it's about reducing dependence on imports. That's the core problem we started with, right? By producing our own energy and the technologies that generate it, we drastically lessen our vulnerability. Vulnerability to global energy market fluctuations, geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruptions originating outside our borders. This gives the nation greater autonomy, greater resilience. It's a clear pathway to insulate ourselves from global shocks, like the recent energy crises we saw in Europe. Second, this movement is a powerful engine for creating jobs, a really powerful one. When we invest in domestic manufacturing for solar panels, wind turbines, battery components, nuclear reactor parts, we're not just buying a product, we're creating jobs. Jobs for American engineers, factory workers, installers, researchers. So it's not just new factories, but a whole new type of workforce being developed. These often require specialized skills, specialized training programs, which the source highlights too. And they're often good-paying, skilled jobs that contribute directly to local economies, strengthen the middle class, and build a robust workforce for the future of energy.
Okay, reducing dependence, creating jobs. What else?
Third, it's about strengthening supply chains. This became painfully obvious recently, didn't it? When critical components and materials are sourced and produced within the United States, our supply chains just become inherently more resilient. We all saw during recent global events how fragile international supply chains can be. Domestic production means less reliance on overseas factories, fewer shipping delays, better control over quality and availability. And this is crucial for national security and economic stability, ensuring we have what we need when we need it without being caught off guard by, say, a pandemic-induced factory shutdown on the other side of the world. And fourth, this entire endeavor is really focused on keeping innovation right here at home. When investment flows into domestic research and development for these advanced energy technologies, it fosters this vibrant ecosystem. You get scientists, entrepreneurs, engineers all working together. This not only leads to new breakthroughs and improved efficiencies, but it also ensures that the intellectual property that patents the next generation of energy solutions originates here and benefits the American economy. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these benefits, they create a compounding positive effect. It's synergistic. More jobs lead to more skilled workers, which in turn fuels more innovation, which further strengthens supply chains and solidifies our energy independence. Kind of a virtuous cycle.
That compounding effect, that virtuous cycle, it certainly paints an optimistic picture for the long term. Are there any short-term trade-offs? Or maybe significant initial investments our source suggests will be necessary to really kickstart that cycle?
Oh, absolutely. The source is quite clear that this isn't a cost-free ride or an instantaneous transition. The initial investments are substantial. We're talking significant capital injection into R&D and especially into scaling up manufacturing facilities. That's expensive. And there can be, let's be honest, a premium on domestically produced goods initially compared to globally sourced alternatives. The source suggests that's a necessary trade-off, though, a price you pay for long-term security and resilience. There are also workforce development challenges. You have to retrain existing workers, educate new ones for these pretty highly technical jobs. But the argument presented is that these short-term costs are really an investment against the much higher long-term costs of foreign dependence, supply chain fragility, and frankly, a decaying industrial base. It's about strategic patience, really, and sustained commitment.
Okay, so this shift, It clearly has monumental implications, way beyond just the grid itself. Our source specifically ties it to national security, economic stability, and even global leadership. Let's break those down a little. How does energy connect so directly to those big strategic areas?
Yeah, these strategic implications are indeed profound. Like you said, this isn't just about flipping a switch. It's about reshaping our geopolitical standing and our domestic strength. First, let's take national security. Energy independence is, well, paramount here. When a nation is self-sufficient in its energy needs, it gains tremendous diplomatic and strategic leverage. It really does. It means we're less susceptible to coercion or economic pressure from foreign energy producers. Simple as that. Our military operations become more secure too, not reliant on volatile foreign supply lines. And this allows us to make foreign policy decisions based more on our values and interests, rather than being constrained by energy dependencies like we discussed earlier. It's foundational to true sovereignty. It gives America a stronger hand in global negotiations.
Okay, so national security is clear. What about economic stability?
Right. For economic stability, a homegrown energy sector provides a pretty robust buffer against global economic shocks. Domestic production helps create more predictable energy costs, for one thing. It reduces the outflow of capital money leaving the country to pay foreign nations for energy. And it fosters a stable environment for businesses to plan and grow. They know what energy costs might look like. The jobs created, the strengthened supply chains, the domestic innovation, all of that contributes to a resilient economy. One that's less prone to those boom and bust cycles, often driven by external energy markets. It means American dollars spent on energy largely stay within the American economy, circulating, creating further economic activity. It just makes our economy more robust and less vulnerable to international volatility.
And the third piece was global leadership.
Yes, and this is interesting. This positions America for global leadership in the clean energy race. By being at the forefront of developing and manufacturing these advanced technologies, solar, wind, nuclear, batteries, clean hydrogen, we're not just meeting our own needs, we're also establishing ourselves as a global leader in the very technologies the world needs for its energy transition. This leadership can translate into export opportunities, obviously, but also influence over international standards and a stronger voice in global climate and energy discussions. And this raises an important question, right? About the long-term geopolitical advantages. Who will set the pace for the next generation of energy? This movement, if successful, ensures America is in that position, helping define the technologies and set the standards for the world. Ultimately, as our source puts it, it's all working towards a stronger, cleaner, and more independent America.
Now, we've heard calls for energy independence before, haven't we? What makes this particular Made in America movement distinct from previous efforts? And why does our source seem to suggest it's maybe poised for greater success this time around?
That's an excellent point, and the source actually touches on this. It highlights a few key differentiators. See, previous calls for energy independence often focused primarily on boosting domestic fossil fuel production, essentially, replacing foreign oil with domestic oil, or foreign gas with domestic gas. And while that certainly achieved a degree of independence, it didn't fundamentally alter the technology base, nor did it fully address that sustainable pillar we talked about. This current Made in America push is distinct because it's much more technology agnostic in its approach to domestic production. It embraces both renewables and advanced nuclear, which broadens the whole base of independence. But maybe more importantly, it focuses so heavily on the entire supply chain for these advanced technologies, not just the raw energy source itself. We're talking about manufacturing the solar panels, the wind turbines, the batteries, the nuclear components here. That's the shift. This creates a deeper, more resilient, and technologically advanced form of independence. And frankly, the sheer scale of investment and policy focus on manufacturing incentives right now is pretty unprecedented compared to past initiatives.
It really is an exciting transformation to witness when you lay it all out like that. Thinking about it, the future of energy isn't just some abstract concept out there somewhere. It's actually being built right here by American hands, using American innovation. It feels like a shift that touches every part of our lives, really. From jobs in our communities to the air we breathe, and even, as you said, our standing on the global stage.
Indeed. And for you, our listener, I think the implications of this deep dive are definitely worth reflecting on. Maybe consider this. As we push forward with these massive domestic investments, how will we continue to balance that critical need for absolute energy security, ensuring the lights always stay on, with the imperative to relentlessly push the boundaries of clean innovation? It's a tricky balance because these homegrown investments, they aren't just shaping the next few years of our energy landscape. They're truly defining the next generation of American industry, the skills our workforce will need, and our global standing for decades to come. What kind of future will these energy choices ultimately build for us? That's the big question.
That is a powerful thought to leave us with. How these choices today rivel through the future, affecting everything from our daily routines to the strategic future of the nation. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope it's given you a clearer picture of America's energy future and the incredible potential impact of this Made in America movement.